Perhaps I've misjudged you. Oh, maybe I have I got a good vibe about this episode. We're less than a minute in, and this is already best girl. I thought the intro couldn't be topped. I never really thought large enough. If this isn't what peak anime looks like, I don't want to live on this world anymore. In a world of inflation and how everything is getting out of control, it's nice to be able to come up here and say, you know what? At least the boob inflation, that's something we can all get behind. Now, this show's absurd enough that I won't be shocked if I come up here next week and say they actually kept her that large and in charge. However, given the theme of our girl having no money, I'm going to assume she spends an arm and a leg to remove those bad boys. And from a practical standpoint, her back would kill her and I'd understand the reduction surgery. But the selfish part of an anime enjoyer says, no, no, no. You keep them as they are. You know, they really bait you this week because they say, hey, first minute of the episode, once again, best character we've ever seen. They're not going to be able to top them. And of course she dies within a second, but she's out here doing some boob ninjutsu and it's wonderful. And then it happens. And the beauty about this past arc is that they didn't let the whole robot love girlfriend thing be a one-off. It legitimately affected her that the robot got killed. They kickstart this episode off with her saying, did we collect her leaves? And she's like, nah, we didn't. And she's literally heartbroken. She gets into such a depressing spiral that it's musty as hell. She has no lights on, trash everywhere, and she's just rotting in bed because existing is pain. Now, of course, by the end of the episode, she realizes the robot was in fact just her. Like, maybe it's a little more like pre-programmed to never make mistakes and a little more mature, a little more blunt, but her personality was literally based off the real thing. So her love and clearly affection for the robot can still be found in the real deal, and the imitation was in fact just an imitation. And I love the fact that they didn't just start this episode off like nothing happened. Like, this is what these shows would always do. We'd kickstart this episode, maybe there'd be a reference or two to the robot, but for the most part, we'd just move on to the next thing. Instead, what we actually got was a finisher for that surprisingly emotional arc and actual progress for the real relationship. Now, of course, there will be those anime fans who are blind as hell and think this isn't a romance. I had a comment last week on last week's video, the one about our girl falling in love with a robot, that they're just roommates and there's no relationship. Someone actually said that to me on the episode where she fell in love with a robot. Anyway, so the idea that she wants to find ways to be like, I want to be similar to the robot. And one of the things is how, well, the robot was able to store stuff in the chesticle region. Maybe a little more drawer-oriented, but, we did at the start of this episode see some boob ninjutsu. Turns out by the end, which is a very fun twist, is how, it's not about the size, anyone can do it. And in ninja, storytelling, it is often, they have, way more storage space than they realistically should. And it just seems like it's kind of like a TARDIS or something like that, where it's bigger on the inside than the outside, and they got little pocket dimensions or something. I don't know. Either way, though, the idea that the character who actually survived, the only character who has survived a scene that they probably shouldn't if we go off the trend of the show, comes back into play as the diddler. Basically pulls out the Reki Kawahara special, gropes, diddles, and then laughs and then leaves like nothing happened and refuses to elaborate. Turns out her little shock is, starts to grow, and they just spend a couple days mastering the art of boob ninjutsu. And I thank them for it. The idea that she comes back and just, the whole time I'm thinking of all the classic cliche, she falls into her chest, all these different things. I'm like, I know what they're going to do. And to be honest, they didn't do anything that I expected. When I'm seeing her use them like beanbag chairs, rest, and I'm just like, okay, this show is brilliant. Now, there's going to be some miserable son of a bitch who will be like, this is stupid. How lame and immature do you gotta be to enjoy boobs for entertainment? Get out. We don't want you here. Now, The funniest thing about this whole episode is we are in an anime season with a couple of shows that are pretty insane at face value. You got the Dark Elf show. I think it's like the short one. I think they're like only a few minute long episodes if memory serves. And then of course you have the time traveling panty show where the girl takes off the panties and she time travels. And yet, I would honestly argue the greatest use of fan service was in Ninja and Assassin. And we didn't even see nipples. So, surprisingly, the top never did a nip slip. And yet I would honestly argue this had the best fan service and the most entertaining fan service out of any show this season. And it's not even a show driven by fan service, but they made it work. Now, if I come up here next week and she still has the ridiculously large character design, 1,000,000 out of 10 would recommend I'd rate this higher than Orb Movements of the Earth. It'd be that good. If I come up here next week, which based on the preview, I don't... But then again, after the credits, I thought she didn't have them either, but the back shot just made it look like it wasn't, you know, big breasts anymore. But the preview does make it look like they're not there, so I'm kind of assuming they're going to make the joke of, you know, reduction surgery, and it probably costs a lot of money, and that's why she never has money, because that's going to be a common enough trend. If they do that, I'm not going to say the show sucks, but I'd be a liar to say if I come up here next week and they're still like that I won't appreciate the show more. I'm gonna be honest. My first thought walking into this episode was there's no way they top themselves. You turned a robot love story tragic with a character who's probably objectively evil, and you just made, and I'm like, man, she should have just stuck with the inventor girl. Like, they were great for each other. She had a robot pal. Everyone would have been happy. And yet you flip it on its head that I say, you know what? I actually feel like now we got the chemistry. She's now accepted her as the original, so that love transfers over. We got the most... But surely there's no way episode 7 tops it. And if it doesn't, I'm not going to be disappointed. I'll just be like, eventually all good things must come to an end. There's no way they continue the climb of bullshittery. But if somehow they do top it with episode 7... I might just have to rate it the greatest anime of all time. Now, do I really think so? No, but it's definitely one of the more enjoyable ones I've seen in some time. But just for the sheer stupidity and bullshittery alone, I have to honestly... Greatest Yuri, man. Greatest Yuri. You let me know your thoughts. I don't got anything else to say. Yeah, you let me know your thoughts. Leave a like if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new around here. Of course, ring that bell. Of course, I have those full live reactions over on my Patreon. While you're over there, I'll just give you a video shout out. Alright, so today we got Eddie, Kyle Call, Austin Fernat, Rookie, and we also have a Mega Alpha 83. So I appreciate the support, everyone. Please take care, and you have a good one.